Welcome to Giant Cocktails, a podcast where two lifelong fans talk about the San Francisco Giants while drinking homemade cocktails. Now, here are your hosts, Ben and Matthew Henry.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another sizzling episode of Giant Cocktails Midweek Review. I'm your reliable umpire of all things cocktails and baseball, Matthew Henry. And joining me, as always, is the Sultan of Sips, the Grand Slam guru, the man who can mix a martini while reciting Babe Ruth's batting average, my brother, Ben Henry. Grab your peanuts and Cracker Jack, because it's time to dive into the deliciously boozy world of baseball. Hello, Grand Slam guru, Sultan of Sips.
342, Matthew. Lifetime batting average of 342.
Exactly. I looked it up too. Yeah.
Wait, you had to look it up?
That's right. As you're mixing your martini right now.
Yeah. That's true. I can make a martini and surf the web, as us 90s kids like to say, at the same time.
Okay. That's pretty talented. All right.
Yeah. No AI and no voice commands needed.
Impressive.
That's how nimble my fingers are.
All right. Well, I know you're not drinking a martini, so what are you drinking today, Ben?
Well, Matthew, there I was sitting at the table having a conversation with the fam, talking about who the tallest man in baseball was, arguing with my 17-year-old daughter that it was not a man named Loke who died in a hiking accident, but it was two gentlemen, one of whom named was Sean Jelly. Incidentally, what's up with the silent H's on the San Francisco Giants? Huh? Anyway,
yeah.
And as I was having this conversation, this argument, you texted me, and it was 3 minutes into our recording time, and I had not done anything. So I did what you do in an emergency. I took the time to get a highball, I filled it with ice, and then I grabbed a bottle of Rittenhouse Rye and Mexican Coca-Cola. So today's cocktail, Matthew, is called Coke and Rye.
Original. I like it.
And to make a Coke and Rye, you pour the rye, preferably overproof, bottled in bond, into your highball filled with ice, and then you top that with your preferably sugarcane cola. Because, yes, it has a different mouthfeel. It is different. And it's worth the money. And then you drink up. And honestly, Matthew, why do we bother? Why do we bother making anything else? This is a perfect cocktail.
Nothing wrong with a little whiskey and Coke, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm drinking today. Coke and Rye.
All right. Well, unlike you, I actually planned a cocktail. But actually, it was one of those where I was certain I was going to go in one direction. Turns out I don't have any gin and I don't have any vodka on hand, which is a first. I went through it and hadn't replaced it yet. And so...
What's the matter with you?
I know. Rookie mistake. But what I did have, Ben, is that bottle of Aquavit you gave me 2 years ago. From the Santa Cruz distillery, Venus Distillery, yes, which is quite good, by the way. I'm not sure if they still make the Aquavit, but
I'm sure they do.
But that's what I had. So I am presenting something I'm calling Splash Hit because the word aqua just kind of made it feel like that's what it should be. So 2 ounces of Aquavit, 1 ounce of cinnamon simple syrup, a ½ ounce of lemon juice, and a ½ ounce of Cointreau. Put all those in a cocktail shaker with ice, give it a good shake, and for a good 12 to 15 seconds, double strain it into a chilled coupe glass and garnish it with a lemon peel. And folks, that's what I'm drinking today. So I'm calling the Splash Hit. It's kind of funky, but I'm going with it. It's tasty. So that's what I'm drinking.
That's what cocktail making is all about. Experimentation.
Yeah. It is. The fennel seed really comes through on the Aquavit, so you definitely get a little bit of that. The cinnamon kind of complements it, I think, too. So, all right. Well, Ben, what are we going to talk about today? Well, I think for one, changes are coming or have come since literally we hit end record, said our goodbyes on Sunday night, and then the announcement came that Austin Slater had been traded. So were we going to get back on and do a little addendum to our recording? No, we were not.
No.
But we're going to talk about it today. So we thought I'd talk about that along with the departure of a short-term Gold Glove shortstop. And then we're going to talk about a potential Cy Young Award winner, Ben, after this latest start. And then, of course, our usual lightning round topics. Today, folks, is Wednesday, July 9th, as we record this podcast. I'm not even going to talk about the game that's going on while we record because it got ugly fast, folks. And frankly, I'm not drunk enough yet to talk about it. But we did win the first game, and we were at homeostasis. 2 games under 500, 45 and 47, rather.
That's what happened today, Matthew, is that the homeostasis is 2.5, right?
Yeah,
and of course, it cannot settle on 2.5. It has to be 2 or 3 below 500, for those of you who don't know. And if the Giants had won this game, they would have been 1 game under 500, which, of course, just puts everything out of whack. And so that's why the improbable happened. We should have known it when Logan Webb gave up a 3-run homer. And then we really should have known it when the Toronto Blue Jays had six hits in a row to start the 6th inning, given up by both Webb and Jelly.
The dubiously tallest man in baseball, according to your daughter.
Dubiously, no. If you if you consider Dutch baseball, which I get, it is. They play real baseball because of Curacao, and I get it. It's not like that thing they do up in Sweden or Norway or whatever the heck it is, where they have the rivers in the outfield.
That thing is cool.
It's a fun watch. It's a fun watch, but there are literally people, they playing a professional game, and there are literally old ladies strolling through the park at the same time, and those happen to be the same thing. They're playing field and the old lady, and it's like they both have right of way. So, okay, so that doesn't count.
Okay.
Sean Jelly tied for first as tallest person in baseball.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we should just get into it. Changing of the guard, Ben. Changing of the guard. So Austin Slater, who had been the longest tenured Giant on the roster, was traded. I thought it was a nice move that Farhan Zaidi just took the trouble to drive his car into San Francisco, down to the ballpark, so that he could meet with Austin Slater and tell him that he'd been traded. At least I think that's what he said, something like that. Him and Bob, they met with Slater face to face to tell him that he'd been traded.
Yeah, because it was at the end of the road trip.
Yeah,
right.
Because they flew in and
right.
So I thought we'd talk a little bit. I felt like Austin Slater was getting a little bit of a bad rap. I think there were some people who didn't like Austin Slater because they Matthew,
I know. Matthew, this is like, these are the loudest Giants fans out there. The Slater haters were the loudest Giants fans.
If you guys have a subscription to The Athletic, you should read Grant Brisbee's article on
the Slater haters. Don't subscribe to The Athletic. A couple of them do, because I saw them down there in the comments.
Yeah,
but they at least tried to make good arguments. Most Slater haters can't punch their way out of a paper bag, much less read the writing on it.
Yeah. I mean, folks, I'll say it one more time, and the last time because he's now left the Giants, but Austin Slater was the best at what teams asked to do. A guy off the bench who can hit left-handers. He was the best player in Major League Baseball for at least 2 to 3 years. And this year, he struggled. And he, coming off an injury and all that. And, time waits for no one, Ben. And
that's right.
So Austin Slater let go.
But I just want to make it clear. I am not a Slater hater. I am not on the side of the Slater haters. So don't you all think that Ben's on my team? Because I'm not on your team.
Don't come at
I'm not. Yeah. As Grant Brisbee called you, you're just a bunch of casuals. Like, number one, a lot of people, I think, don't like Austin Slater, not because they don't like having a good bench player, a good role player who is good at that job. Exceptionally good at that job. I think what people don't like is having that guy practically become the face of the organization. You don't want a role player platoon guy to be the face of the organization. The longest tenured Giant, the guy who is reaches furthest back into your history, and I think represents a lot of the things that fans don't like about Farhan Zaidi's approach, which is very much baseball arbitrage, right? It's statistical arbitrage, and Austin Slater, I think, represents that in a lot of ways, and I think that's where all of this anger and animosity was coming from.
All right, well, and so one of the great the benefits of when you let go of someone like that is that someone's got to take the place. And that person, Ben, is Luis Matos, 22-year-old. I think we still forget that he's still so young. 22-year-old Luis Matos is now on the roster and will be, I think, for the foreseeable future. He has taken that role as the right-handed hitter off the bench, outfielder. So about time, you think?
Yeah, I think getting rid of Austin Slater was the right move. And I think for a bunch of reasons. He was having a bad year. He's at the end of his control by the Giants at the end of this season. They have young guys banging down the door. He's not playing any better than those young guys. It just didn't make any sense for him to continue to be a Giant. So that's why I think it was good to let him go. And yes, he's replaced by Luis Matos, a guy who at 22, maybe feels like he's not quite ready. But at the same time, you're like, what are you doing? What is he accomplishing down in AAA? Especially when he can perform just as well as your other guys who are sitting on the bench and can at least get major league experience.
All right. Well, so the next longest tenured player, Ben, is Yaz, believe it or not. So now there are no players that are on the team for pre-Zaidi era, at least on the 26-man roster, right? And so I feel like Yaz could be like the next one that the fans kind of turn on at this point. You feel that? I feel like there's already this Yaz struggles and people don't like him, and
I think people are already against Yaz because he's the opposite side of the Austin Slater coin, right? So they don't like him for that reason. All the reasons that I just mentioned. That's exactly why they don't like Yaz.
But I guess, do fans not like good baseball players? Because, Yaz is a good baseball player. He is.
Casuals, Matthew, don't care.
As somebody I know told me, they can't all be stars, Ben. They can't all be stars.
So casuals, Matthew, don't know what a good baseball player looks like. Okay. They think it's an all-star. They think it's the absolute best, and then everybody else other than those people suck, right? That's what they think. Yeah. They like guys who are so good at what they do that you can look past their flaws, and they underappreciate people like Yastrzemski, who almost is like one of the smartest and well-educated baseball players in all of baseball, much less on the San Francisco Giants. Do I think he's the next? I think I think they're nipping at his heels because he's getting older. I don't see him being threatened this year because honestly, who's there to threaten him?
Right.
Bishop? I don't think so. So, I think Yaz is definitely going to be a Giant for the rest of the season unless they do something crazy.
Something crazy, yeah, the trade deadline. All right, so Nick Ahmed unceremoniously DFA'd to make room for, well, there's a lot of changes had to be made because they had to do a little merry-go-round with the roster to get guys to create spots for Blake Snell coming back and all that. So we learned that Ahmed was DFA'd and yesterday, and Brett Wisely and Tyler Fitzgerald are now going to kind of tandem that shortstop position. Is Wisely the next starting shortstop for the Giants?
I don't want to answer that question.
The answer is yes, Ben. The answer is yes.
Well, is Wisely the next starting shortstop for the San Francisco Giants, Matthew? Is he anointed?
I think so. I think he has been anointed. Marco Luciano still playing in AAA, and so the name that everybody thought was going to be the guy halfway through the season isn't even part of the team, and Brett Wisely is, and he's passable defense. I mean, he's good. He's been good defense, but then, he makes mistakes like he did tonight where he drops a ball.
I was going to say, he's been numerically wise. The analytics say he's been good at defense.
Yeah.
He's been good and not as good as Ahmed, but he hits a lot better than Ahmed.
Right.
Right. And so, I mean, like that answers it itself.
That answers, yeah. A well-rounded baseball player is always going to be better than just a defensive.
Right. That being said, because I like Nick Ahmed. I liked him in that. I liked his story. I liked how he fit in. I like how he came out of nowhere and really provided a strong defensive anchor at that position. And yeah, I do think that he makes two plays tonight that change the sixth inning drastically. I think he gets that ole when they drew the infield in and Brett Wisely swatted at it like he was swatting away a mosquito. Ahmed definitely turns the double play that Jelly threw. So yeah. But at the same time, right, like I think that was just coincidental. Good ammo for Ben to pull out against Mr. Brett Wisely. Brett Wisely is here to stay. He's established himself.
Well, I think the other person that we kind of lose track of is Tyler Fitzgerald. And honestly, I felt like his role was just going to be one where he was going to be kind of the speed guy off the bench, maybe play a little defense stuff. Sounds like they want to look at him longer term from a more permanent standpoint and really give him a role on this team. Which, it helped out, I want to say on the first game against the Blue Jays with the walk-off wild pitch, Fitzgerald on third, he actually said that he was anticipating that and felt like that was if that happened, he was going to go. I felt it too. I don't know. I'm not one to be all like, ooh, like, look, I made that happen, but I think I made that happen, Ben. Like I was like,
no, you definitely did.
As soon as that guy ball's in the dirt, he's gone. And sure enough.
No, you were definitely thinking it. I wasn't thinking ball in the dirt. I wasn't. I was just thinking, like, come on, Tyro, just make contact. But let me read some numbers to you, Matthew.
Okay.
278 batting average, 337 on base percentage, 430 slugging for a 768 OPS and an OPS plus of 123 and a 0.7 B-WAR. That's Tyler Fitzgerald this year. And this is a guy who was on the merry-go-round. And he never deserved to get sent down. And in fact, I felt like he was being underused in the first month or two. So yeah. I mean, I think this is the right move.
Yeah, and we're finally getting to that point now where Farhan said at the beginning of the year where they wanted to get younger and more athletic. I feel like we've now maybe reached that point where that is true, and to kind of show a point on that, I did a little deep dive into the average age of our roster from opening day till now, and I'm gonna give you the caveat that I went with just position players and I eliminated Joey Bart. Because Joey Bart was only on there just to, they added a 14th position player so that they could keep him. So I eliminated him. And so opening day without Joey Bart, but every other position player, the average age was 30.1 years. So that was the average age. After the moves today or this week, now our average age is 28.8. So
wow.
almost 1.5 years younger on average than we were on opening day. And what was even more striking was that if you look at Tuesday's lineup, the first game against the Blue Jays, they had Bailey, Matos, Fitzgerald, and Wisely batting 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. And then they had Estrada and Ramos batting 1, 2. Okay, so those were 6 players that were consecutive hitters in the lineup who averaged 25 years old. The other three were Conforto, Chapman, and Flores. They averaged a little over 31 years old. So just those to have that much youth in the lineup, I can't remember the last time we had that.
Matthew, 25 years old. That's so long ago. I can't even remember it. To be young. Well, cool.
Yeah. So I just, finally, the youth has been served, right? I mean, it's
That's
here,
right.
and we'll see if that makes a difference. But at least we're starting to see that that youth from movement happen that's been long promised.
And as an old guy, I can tell you younger people are better at sports.
Well, that's true. All right. Speaking of old guys who are, I heard Blake Snell might be in line for the Cy Young Award this year.
Who? Oh, yeah. You meant that guy. The guy who pitched for the Giants yesterday?
Yes.
He was good. When did they get him?
Yeah, former Cy Young Award winner. 2-time Cy Young Award winner.
What?
Sure looked like it, didn't he?
Really? I think I would have heard about that, Matthew. I think I would have heard that the Giants had signed a Cy Young Award winner. Next thing you're going to tell me they have two.
No, I'm not going quite there yet. That's fantasy talk.
That's fantasy talk. Well, I think I wrote his stats down in the notes, Matthew.
I know you did.
I did, and what really stuck out to me was the number of pitches he threw.
Serious.
Was
like, of course, the day he's on a pitch count, he pitches the most efficiently.
Well, you know what, though? At least they didn't have to get anybody up in the bullpen in the fifth inning or the fourth inning. You know, I mean, I was just looking at some of his games because, okay, so after they won yesterday, I thought, oh, that's his first win. And not just his first win because he didn't get the win. But what I meant was it was the first time that the Giants had won when he had pitched, which, of course, was wrong. They had won 2 of his previous starts. But it just felt true. It felt true because of how abysmal all of those previous starts were, and so it was just amazing. It was amazing. Like, he gave up 1 hit, 3 walks, 0 runs, and only really 3 strikeouts. And yeah, he had traffic, but it was like never threatening traffic.
Well, he got a double play on one of them. He picked off the guy to end the fifth.
Oh yeah,
that
one was so surprising. He looked surprised. Blake Snell looked surprised to me because he just kind of does his casual like loping throw over there, and then he's like, "Oh crap," because now he's got to run to first because he's got to get ready for a rundown. But and then today in the game before everything went to crap in the 6th inning from hell, he was doing an interview. And I thought he gave a really good interview.
He was engaging. He was fun. Yeah.
He was.
My favorite part was him just wanting to like react to the game like the whole time. Like he was.
Well, that was yes. He was a guy who showed that he cared deeply about winning, right?
Yeah.
And he talked about how hard it is to be away. When you're on the IL, the hardest part is not being with the team and knowing that you're missing games and all of that. And I thought he was also very engaging. He's very personable in this very sort of like surfer dude sort of way.
You and I grew up around a lot of surfer dudes, and I feel like I'm glad you made that analogy because it's hard to take him like seriously sometimes because he's just so laid back. But I've been around some surfers who were professional surfers, and those guys are intense. When it comes to to actually being on a wave or whatever. So I could see that. That's the Blake Snell surfer analogy works for me because I think when he's definitely a competitor.
And I think that's a good analogy because in the interview today, and even in one of the scrums that he had yesterday, he said he was talking about the mental aspect of the game and how he was really satisfied with how he was approaching each at bat yesterday and having a conversation with himself is how he termed it, and just discussing the at bat with himself. And then he termed it as just competing is what he said. And I don't think there's a just about it. I think to him it's obvious. But I think what he was saying is that he was really he was mentally competing, right? He wasn't just throwing. He wasn't just thinking about each individual pitch, but he was thinking about the at-bat and the approach. And then he brought that up again today in the interview with Kruk and Kipe, where he felt like that was a really good aspect of his game. And so that was nice to hear, especially from a guy who does have that persona of being very laid back, that like, no, he's actually quite intelligent and knows his craft very, very well, and feels like now that part of it is clicking.
Yeah. Well, and it was good to, I mean, gosh, man, great to see Blake Snell actually pitch a competitive game. It will be interesting to see how he goes from here on out. Track record suggests that we're going to see a much better Blake Snell going forward.
Well, everybody said second half, and if this is the beginning of the second half, it can't stop.
Yeah, it can't, and they're definitely going to need it.
It's time for a lightning round.
Oh, crap.
Oh, all right, let's get ready. Okay. All right, Ben. We just talked about how Blake Snell talks to himself. He liked the conversations he was having with himself. Mm-hmm. What conversations do you have with yourself?
Oh, yeah. Okay. How long has this been in the fridge? Is it okay to eat? Okay. Does it smell funny? Well, if it's funny bad? Okay, let me Google this. How much mold can you eat without getting sick? Oh. None? Oh. I can just cut it off, right? Yeah, you can cut it off. And it pretty much like that, Matthew. Okay. That's the conversations I have with myself.
All right. Yep. All right. Yep. Mine are kind of similar. Did I leave the oven on when I left today? Just, those kind of things. Or I'm in the middle of one thought and another thought just jumps in. Yeah. So, I get what you're saying. I admire his ability to have a conversation with himself, because conversations with myself rarely make sense.
Yeah. All right, Matthew, they have medications for that.
So next question for you. Do Wisely and Fitzgerald finish the year as our shortstops?
I hope so. I mean, I don't see who else it could be, and I don't want it to have to be anything else. So
okay.
Yeah.
I feel like this could be, the next 2 weeks or so could be an audition for a trade. I feel like if not Fitzgerald and Wisely, maybe Marco Luciano. Somebody's getting traded, I think, before the trade deadline, and I would put a little bit of money on one of those three, one of our as trade bait.
So you think that Luciano, Wisely, or Fitzgerald is going to be traded?
I don't think they're going to, but I think that the could be. It could
be. Okay, I could see that. I could see that. Yeah.
All right. Finally, Ben. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this last week. Giants All-Stars don't have the best record, although last year Camilo was the winning pitcher. Mm-hmm. What are your predictions for Logan Webb and Elliot Ramos at this year's All-Star game?
Webb pitches an inning. It's not clean, but he doesn't give up a run. Okay. Ramos flies out in one at bat.
Okay. I feel like Webb gets the win. Ramos gets the game-winning hit.
Yep, sounds about right. I was really close to saying Ramos strikes out, but I didn't. But I gave him the benefit of the doubt because, I should have said strikes out just to stick on brand.
You're getting soft in your old age.
Yeah. I mean, I want them to do well. They just.
You're just you. You're just you.
Yeah, I'm just.
All right. Well, looking ahead, Ben, after we've got one more game of the Blue Jays, and then we got the Twins are up next.
I wonder how Carlos Correa is doing these days.
Well, we're going to find out, Bob. We're going to find out what he's up to.
It's good. You're going to see him, Bob. Well, on TV.
Man, I wonder if there are going to be any Carlos Correa Giants uniforms in the stands.
I hope so. In my fantasies, Matthew, we have merch, and one of the jerseys of our Giant Cocktails jerseys, it says Correa on the back, but it has it's the strike through font.
Yes. And then an Arson Judge jersey.
Yeah, an Arson one, but the font is flames.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, The good news is that we've been playing well against good teams, and the Twins are a good team. They're second in the American League Central at 53-40. They're playing well. So, but it is the last series before the All-Star break, and then we will. They get a few days off, so we get to see Webb and Ramos. So, looking forward to that.
And that's a wrap on the midweek review. Thank you for joining us. We will be back on Monday with the big show, where the cocktails will be stronger and maybe pre-planned. And the rants will be longer. If you can't wait that long to get your fix, feel free to reach out to Matthew on social medias. You can find him at Zuckland, a.k.a. Instagram and Threads, where he goes by the username Giant Cocktails. You can also find him on Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, and Mastodon at the same username. I don't do social media. Don't forget, you can also listen to us on YouTube, but you know what you can't do? You can't be the 10th subscriber, because we hit double digits.
Oh.
But you can still run over there to like, subscribe, and comment like our friend Georgie528, who said, love the pod. Cheers, guys.
Oh.
Back
Good
at
old
you,
Georgie.
Georgie.
Good old Georgie.
Georgie, are you from across the pond? That just the name and the cheers, that strikes me as not a native Californian. Anyway, thanks for the comment, Georgie. I am sure Matthew will reply to that and put a heart on it as soon as he figures out how. I know how, but I don't do social medias. But most importantly, be sure to leave us a positive review, like 5-star positive, on your podcasting platform of choice, aka Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That's right. Sometimes I say it correctly. Matthew, you were the least late today. Keep up the good work. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, Ben. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye!
Thank you for listening to the Giant Cocktails Podcast. Until next time, bottoms up.
We could have a jersey that has Austin Slater's number on the back, and instead of Slater, it says Hater.
Oh, okay.
Nah? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We could have one that has Yaz's number on it, and it just says grandson. Or Blake Snell's number and second half.
Get going on that. Get that merch store up.